This video will demonstrate how to get your microphone and Morse code audio into one mic jack. So you have both inputs available, so you can talk to your friend with both Morse code and voice and talk to each other, as well as send Morse code back and forth on any voice chat program like Mumble, Skype, Discord, TeamTalk, Ventrilo. If it has pulse audio available as a possibility for its input and output, you can use this system. You need pulse audio 6 or higher, and I'll go over that in a second. Right now on the laptop, we have the headphone jack right here, but over here is the microphone jack, and we bring out a splitter. So we have both left and right channels. On the left channel, we have Morse code, which is going to the straight key. And the pedals. And so it's coming out of this keyer here, and it's keying a 555 chip, just like you would a rig. So we're using the rig keying jack on the keyer here, and that's what keys the 555. This sends out a very harsh and rough sounding tone, but that doesn't matter. You can use any side tone as long as you can key it, and that side tone comes into the left channel of the microphone jack. Make sure you isolate it so that the microphone jack voltage doesn't go back to the keyer. So you need to block it with a capacitor or an isolation transformer. I'm using a capacitor, this orange one you see right there. Now on the other side is the microphone right here. Now you need a stereo to mono adapter, which is right here. And that allows you to, since you have a stereo microphone jack, and that's what you would need for this to work, and most of the computers have that. That stereo microphone jack has voltage on both channels. So to get the voltage, when you're splitting the channels, to get that voltage to this microphone condenser mic, which I am using a headset mic, you need this stereo to mono adapter, which takes an 1/8 inch stereo to an 1/8 inch male. And then you're going to need, to get to the RCA, you need another adapter, which is a 1/8 inch female to an RCA male, which goes to this splitter, this breakout splitter. And that goes to this plug into the mic jack. So let's show you the internal signature of that, which is right here called System. Now this is a Linux laptop running Jack Audio Connection Kit and using the KX Studio Jack apps, Jack Audio Connections apps, using the CADIA connection bay. Since this allows you to see a lot of the connections, it's a lot easier to draw the lines than using QJack CTL. So we have the left and the right channels. Again, on the left side, we have a side tone from a 555 coming in, and it sounds pretty harsh. I won't break your eardrums with that, but we're using that audio only to trigger the ZamGate CW rekeyer software setup here, and that takes a pure sine wave and allows it to go through the top channel and out, and also puts a rise and fall time on it. So let me show you what that looks like. That's the waveform, and the waveform is the edges are smoothed out by this high pass and low pass filter. Here's what the CW looks like without it. It's rather trapezoidal. And the filters are optional. I thought it made it sound better. And you can adjust the rise and fall time however you like. Let me show you that. So on ZamGate, you have attack and release, which is rise and fall. So let's take it up to 12, just to show you how much it softens it up a bit. And we'll even go farther and take it up to 15. And there you have that signature raised cosine look. And if we take it all the way down, because we have the filters in, it won't be as harsh or hard as keying, because you can set this however you like. And now without the filters. And we'll We'll adjust SAM gate to, let's say, 2. So that's a little bit harder keying. And with the filters, so you adjust that however you like. Now the threshold setting helps to, when there's enough volume of that side tone coming into the mic jack, this triggers the top channel to go through, and the attack and release adjust that rise and fall time for you. Make sure you have the side chain engaged here, so it's showing green. There you go. So that's the mic jack as far as the Morse code goes. And you could use a bug or whatever, just as long as it can key this 555, you're in good shape. And we went over the microphone here using the 2 adapters. You must have that stereo to mono in order to have enough of the voltage getting to the condenser mic. So you can use both the microphone and the Morse code in this system going into one mic jack. Since it's a stereo mic jack, we just split the left and right to do for different purposes. Now, to stabilize your voice audio, I have some of these CAF plugins to do that, and I'll show you those. So we have an amplifier, first of all, since I have the microphone capture about right here. I'm not using any mic boost. So every system is a little bit different, so you'll have to adjust this on your own. But this seemed to be a good compromise right here where this capture is, and that's how much energy is coming into the mic jack. You can adjust it to for more sensitivity or less sensitivity. So that's on the mic jack on the ALSA system. So we use a 26 dB gain, which is another plug-in. And all these are LV2 plugins that you see on this graphing connection bay here. And I'm using a lot of the CAF plugins, but these will be in the show notes, and I'll go over those more in those notes there. You can take a look and become familiar with them that way by going to their websites and taking a look at them. I'm using jalv.select, and that brings up this list here, and it's using jalv.gtk. And this is one of my favorite plugin lists. You just click and it brings it up. So the CAF gate, let's go over the CAF gate and then the compressor. Without the gate, you're going to hear background noise when I stop talking. So that's without it. So you got, man, this is a noisy mic jack. So I'm just using the stock equipment that came with this laptop. So I prefer this CAF gate, and the only thing I adjusted was the threshold, everything else, and the ratio, so I took it from 2 to 3 to 1. And now when I talk, when I don't talk, you don't hear that background hiss. Now the compressor keeps it from, as you vary your voice and you get a little bit louder, this keeps it from going over and peaking. And as you can see, we're about -3 dB when I'm talking a little bit loud, which I'm doing right now. And if I keep that up and I bypass it, you see how it went red? So this is very useful for that. So you don't have to pay as much attention to how much you're speaking. And now we also have an equalizer for the voice. And this also is very beneficial, I found, to help keep the voice stable, as well as you can tweak any frequencies of your voice as you like. Here's what my voice sounds without this equalizer. And now the equalizer's off, and I'm talking a little bit low, so you can tell there's a lot less volume. And now I'm going to keep the same volume and turn it back on, and that just went right back up. So I found this also to be very helpful. And you can adjust these frequencies here according to your voice. And this is just a general idea for low, mid, and high. And they make a 8-band and 12-band, I think. So you can even get crazy with that and really adjust your frequencies. So that's the equalizer, and that's the voice setup. So we go through the 26 dB gain, going to the gate, going to the compressor, going to the equalizer, and then out of there. And since this is mono, I'm able to use, on the equalizer, I'm able to go through twice. This is just optional. So we go through the top channel, which is left, and then goes to the right channel and out, which goes to the scope, the spectrum analyzer, screen recorder, my headphones so I can hear my voice. And I hear my voice without any delay at all at these settings on Jack Audio that you see in CATIA. And spectrum, the meters, and of course the mumble input. So let's take a look at the mumble input. We'll go to the testing room here. We'll open it up and we'll take a look at my input signal, which should be about right here. So that's a good signal. So now let's go to the audio output. Again, we're using the system for pulse audio for both the input and output. So on the output, there's a loopback test. We're going to go to the server and activate it. Test. Hello. And we have a filter in for the mumble output. Let me turn that off. So this is a Morse code filter. I'm going to turn it off, and we're going to try that again. Test. Test. Check. Check. Test. And I'll send Morse code. Now with the filter. Test. So if you're using Morse code, this is just an optional filter. Test. Okay. And we'll go through some of the channels here and listen to some of their Morse code in these channels. Now with the filter in. So just another example of some helper apps. Okay. Cut that off for now. So we have the mumble output from a pulse audio command, which gets a pulse audio jack sync and a jack source. And I'll go over those commands in just a second. We're using V level. And this is an application in Linux that helps you keep the volume stable. So there's a lot of variance sometimes in voice chat where some Morse code or voice audio is going to be lower or higher. And this application here seems to do a good job of acting as an automatic gain control. You can set how much you want to multiply it, how sensitive it is as far as how low will it bring up the volume. And I have it set to a stable output where they call it strength 1. And then after that, I have an amplifier to take it back down a little bit. And again, then it goes through that CW filter that's optional. And I can turn it off if I want to hear the voice. And that keeps everything very stable. It goes to the other plugins and jack. So that's the mumble output going through an AGC. The amplifier takes it from 0 dB, which is the output of V level, and it takes it down to about -6 or -9, right around that area, depending on how you can set that however low you want. And I have it to -5, right there. So let's go to take a look at the commands to get those pulse audio connection apps inside the connection bay so that you can hook wires to them. There's a spectrum of my voice. Here's a spectrum of the Morse code. Now without the filter. So there's a little more edge noise getting through. Again, these filters are optional. I just wanted to show them off a little bit because they're very good. And we'll take this out of the picture and show you the commands. So these are the commands I use to bring up the mumble output and the mumble input. And then inside Pulse Audio Volume Control, you tell it which one to use. So I have the normal one. It comes when you activate Pulse Audio. Right here, so you have a Pulse Audio plug-in. Again, this is KX Studio's Cadence. Already comes with these installed. So they have their own bridges. So we activate that first. Then when you bring up those command lines, you can choose, which I have Mumble Output and Mumble Input. Otherwise, you're just going to get the basic ones that start when that come up when you start that Cadence Pulse Audio command. So with Mumble Input, Mumble Output for Pulse Audio, that shows up in the connection bay. And that keeps these for something else. Now I have desktop audio, which I'm not going to show anything here, but this would be browser audio or media audio on your, so you can tell it whenever you have a media player or you're listening to YouTube or something, you tell it to use that and then go to your headphones. But we're not going, and you could also put this to the Mumble Input too if you wanted to share some audio from your desktop. And we don't have a need for this right now, but if you had another application you wanted to send audio to, you could also send it to Mumble and the other one. So you can have as many of these syncs and sources. This is a source, and that's a sync. And you can use as many command lines as you want with, as long as you have Pulse Audio 6 or higher, 6.0 or higher. So that's the basic setup here that we're using. The main idea was that so that you can get on with a friend and be able to talk to them as well as send Morse code using just one mic jack and not having to use a USB sound card or anything else. As long as you have a stereo mic jack, this should work. And as long as you have a Pulse Audio 6.0 and you get these jack apps, it's a little bit complicated at first, but it's really worth the effort. It's a lot of fun. And as far as Linux goes, this outperforms Windows by a lot. It's a little harder to do it on Windows, but jack audio is for Windows as well. But jack audio on Windows, you don't have the LVD plugins. You'd have to find some VST plugins. On Macintosh, it also has jack audio, and you can do something similar. It's just a little harder to find the plugins, so you have to do a little research to get those plugins that are similar to these. But in Linux, these are all easily available, and I'll try to make sure that I link up everything in the video notes so that you can search these out if you want to give them a try. Now, as far as the keyer goes, there's other keyer options for Windows and for Mac. But for Linux, this Zamgate does a fantastic job. It's a very useful plugin for Morse code because it allows you to not worry about the side tone that you're using. So you can use just the harshest, nastiest sound tone you can hear as long as it has a stable volume and enough volume. And it doesn't take that much for the mic jack because you can always increase the sensitivity of the mic jack to bring up the volume a little bit so that there's enough to trigger that gate trigger there. Then you have a pure sine wave that you can adjust the rise and fall time on, etc. And these go through these filters if you like. And again, so we'll go through the list one more time, and I think that's just about it. Let me double check here. Here are the commands again. It's for the input. You do those, just bring up a terminal, type those in. The spectrum analyzer, very pure. And that's all on that page. And so again, the headset comes in. We amplify it, send it to a gate, send it to a compressor, send it to an equalizer if you want to. And then that goes to the mumble input and to anything else you want. And for the side tone, same thing. Triggers the pure sine wave to go through Zamgate with a shaped edge on it for rise and fall time. And the output goes to the headphones so you can hear it, and again to the mumble input so they can hear it. And the only tricky part probably is getting all the volumes set so that you don't overdrive the mumble input. And that you don't take the mumble output and miswire it so that it goes back to the mumble input, and that'll cause a feedback signal when everybody else is sending Morse code to you or talking to you. They're going to hear their own signal back almost immediately with just the slightest delay, depending on how far they are from the Mumble server, which is in Texas at the moment. So that's the only tricky part. So on Windows, it's really bad because we find a lot of people who are using stereo mix to try to cheat the system and get an easy way of getting that side tone in. But anybody else that sends will bounce their own signal back off that stereo mix. So that you have to be able to separate the Mumble input from the Mumble output so that the output never goes back to the input. And with this system, you can immediately tell that all the output, there's nothing going back to the input. So that's the only thing you really have to worry about in this kind of a setup. So for doing Morse code and voice, this is one way of, I'm sure, a bunch of different ways to get the job done. Thanks for watching.